Let's get you hired. Your government shutdown shouldn't be your financial crisis. I've been placing federal acquisition professionals into defense contractor roles for 30 plus years. And here's the truth. We need you more than you realize. Right now, defense contractors are fighting over cleared professionals with your exact skill set. Why? Because training someone from scratch costs us $150,000 plus and takes 18 months. You can start contributing value on day one. Your federal acquisition experience translates directly into a 30 to 50% salary increase in the private sector, if you know how to position it correctly. Let's turn your government shutdown into your best career move yet. Ever applied to a company only to have your resume disappear into a black hole? You're not alone. Here's what actually happens when you apply to join our acquisition team. No smoke and mirrors. Let's be honest about the process. When you submit your application, it goes through an applicant tracking system, ATS system. Yes, companies use software to help manage applications. 98% of companies do. But here's what makes us different. We've designed our system to find qualified candidates, not filter out great ones. Your resume needs the right keywords, but we're not looking for you to game the system. We want to see your actual experience. Deal sourcing, procurement experience, modeling, due diligence. Use the language you'd use in a real transaction. Our recruiters review every application that meets our baseline qualifications, and they know the difference between genuine experience and keyword stuffing. Typically, applications are reviewed, and if you're a strong fit, expect a recruiter call. Our interview process includes a case study that mirrors actual activity we work on, because we believe you should know what you're walking into, and we need to see how you think through actual work situations. No surprises, no bait and switch. Just a transparent look at whether this role fits your career goals and our team needs. Bring your real experience, not a keyword list. Ever accepted a job in defense acquisition only to discover the role was nothing like what was described in the interview? This disconnect happens more often than it should. Understanding how companies actually identify and evaluate acquisition talent can help professionals make better career decisions. Here's what the hiring process typically looks like for these specialized roles. Industry focus. Acquisition managers in defense and aerospace work on specific program types: next-generation aircraft systems, naval modernization, and mission-critical supply chain operations. Companies targeting these candidates aren't looking for general procurement experience. They need professionals who understand the unique demands of programs where decisions impact national security. Key roles. Hiring managers seek acquisition managers, supply chain directors, and program buyers with demonstrated expertise in FAR and DFAR regulations, complex vendor negotiations, and contracts exceeding $10 million. The focus is on candidates who've led supplier qualification for sensitive programs or resolved critical material shortages under deadline pressure. Research scope. The identification process goes beyond traditional job postings. Hiring managers actively map talent across prime contractors, Tier 1 suppliers, and government agencies. They're tracking professionals who've delivered measurable results, reduced lead times, improved supplier performance scores, or successfully qualified alternate sources during supply chain disruptions. Understanding this process helps candidates prepare more effectively and identify opportunities that genuinely match their experience. Why do some federal employees transition seamlessly into defense contractor roles while others struggle to get interviews? The difference often comes down to how well candidates can articulate 5 specific competencies that hiring managers actively screen for. Number 1 requirement, hiring managers are looking for candidates with security clearance and regulatory compliance expertise that have an active secret or top secret clearance. These candidates have a significant advantage. Since 80% of U.S. security clearances are issued by the Department of Defense, and new clearances can take 6 to 18 months to obtain, hiring managers prioritize candidates with existing clearances. Number 2 requirement, they are looking for candidates with supplier relationship and risk management experience, and those that have managed contracts previously and can monitor contractor performance and address supply chain disruptions. The ability to manage multi-tier supplier networks and identify risks proactively is a key differentiator. Number 3, we look for program execution and financial acumen experience, and the ability to manage a budget, track appropriations, and understand earned value management and demonstrate financial competency. Hiring managers seek candidates who can discuss cost performance, schedule variance, and executive level reporting. Number 4, technical systems proficiency. Familiarity with enterprise systems like SAP, Oracle, or comparable ERP platforms is evaluated during screening. Hiring managers assess whether candidates are competent with data analytics and performance metrics. Number 5, leadership and cross-functional collaboration experience is critical to working across agencies, briefing senior leadership, or manage stakeholders with competing priorities. Hiring managers value the ability to influence without authority and lead matrix teams. Understanding how these competencies are evaluated helps candidates prepare stronger applications and interview responses. Why do some acquisition professionals get fast-tracked for high-profile defense programs, while equally qualified candidates never make it past the initial screening? The answer often comes down to one critical qualifier: active security clearances and regulatory compliance expertise. Here's what hiring managers actually evaluate in this competency area. Clearance requirements. Active secret or top secret clearances are mandatory for high-profile defense projects, and these clearances require U.S. citizenship. Since obtaining a new clearance can take 6 to 18 months, hiring managers prioritize candidates who already hold active clearances. This isn't just a preference, it's often a contract requirement that determines which candidates can even be considered. Hiring managers also assess regulatory knowledge depth, determining if candidates possess working knowledge of the FAR and DFAR regulations. Beyond these regulations, they look for a demonstrated experience with international traffic and arms regulations and export administration regulations compliance. This means understanding not just the regulations themselves, but how they apply to contract terms, supplier requirements, and program execution. They also look for a proven track record. The evaluation goes beyond checkbox qualifications. Candidates' histories working with government contracts, specifically evidence of maintaining security protocols, handling sensitive procurement data, and navigating compliance audits. They will assess whether candidates have successfully managed the intersection of regulatory requirements and operational demands without security incidents or compliance violations. Understanding how this competency is weighted in the selection process helps candidates highlight relevant experience more effectively. What separates acquisition professionals who advance into senior supply chain roles from those who plateau? It often comes down to demonstrated expertise in managing the relationships and risks that can make or break defense programs worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Here's what hiring managers evaluate. Strategic sourcing. Hiring managers look for 5 to 8 years of experience managing multi-tier supplier networks. This goes beyond simply placing purchase orders. They're assessing whether candidates have made strategic make or buy decisions, determining when to manufacture in-house versus sourcing externally. Defense programs involve complex supplier ecosystems where a single component might flow through 3 or 4 tiers before reaching final assembly. Candidates need to demonstrate they've navigated these networks successfully. Performance management. The evaluation includes experience conducting supplier audits, quality assessments, and implementing corrective action plans. Hiring managers review whether candidates have established performance metrics, conducted on-site evaluations, and held suppliers accountable when deliverables fall short. This competency shows whether someone can maintain supplier performance standards across both domestic and international partnerships. Risk mitigation. Perhaps most critically, hiring managers assess a candidate's ability to identify and mitigate supply chain disruptions before they impact program schedules. Defense supply chains operate under intense scrutiny where a single delayed component can cascade into program-level issues. They're looking for professionals who've successfully managed risks across geographically dispersed, multi-tier networks while maintaining quality and delivery commitments. Understanding how these capabilities are assessed helps candidates document relevant achievements more strategically. Here's how vague answers can cost you a six-figure job. Why do some candidates breeze through interviews with compelling stories while others struggle to demonstrate their actual capabilities? The difference often lies in understanding how hiring managers structure behavioral interviews and the framework they use to evaluate responses. Here's how the STAR method works and why it matters. The framework, STAR, stands for situation, task, action, and result. Hiring managers use this structure to guide candidates through specific past experiences. Situation establishes the context, what was happening. Task defines what needed to be accomplished. Action details the specific steps the candidate took. Result explains the measurable outcome. Research-backed effectiveness. Over 100 research studies validate this approach, and the data is compelling. Behavioral interviews using the STAR method have 55% predictive accuracy for future job performance, compared to just 10% for traditional interview questions. This significant difference explains why most defense contractors have adopted structured behavioral interviewing. Why it works. The STAR method reveals actual past behavior patterns rather than hypothetical responses. When hiring managers ask, "Tell me about a time when you resolved a critical supply chain disruption," they're not interested in what candidates would do, they want to know what they actually did. This approach prevents generic answers and forces candidates to provide verifiable examples that demonstrate specific skills and competencies. Past behavior remains the most reliable predictor of future performance, which is why hiring managers invest time training interviewers on this methodology. As a hiring manager, vague responses often indicate the candidate is either fabricating, hasn't reflected on their actual experiences, or doesn't know how to communicate impact, which is crucial for most roles. Let's explain. A candidate with secret clearance and experience at one of the top defense contractors was asked, "Tell me about managing a difficult supplier." Their response? "I always try to stay calm and solve the problem." Generic, forgettable, rejected. Compare that to the candidate who landed the role. Using STAR, they said, "At General Dynamics, our titanium supplier for submarine components missed 3 deliveries, risking a $300 million Navy contract. My task was preventing contract penalties. I personally flew to their facility, discovered they'd lost 2 engineers, negotiated a technical assistance agreement, embedded our team for 30 days. Result, recover the schedule, improve supplier performance by 40%. Companies like Northrop Grumman, generating $35.2 billion in defense revenue and working on projects like the B-21 Raider stealth bomber, can't afford to hire people who speak in generalities. They need specifics, metrics, evidence. If you don't practice delivering STAR-based answers, you won't have relevant stories to illustrate your skills. And even if you think of something on the spot, you won't provide all the relevant details. Understanding this framework helps candidates prepare stronger, more concrete examples before interviews. Why do some candidates provide memorable interview responses while others struggle to articulate their experience effectively? The difference often comes down to understanding which competencies hiring managers are evaluating and how to structure responses systematically. Here's how STAR questions target 3 critical competency areas. The first competency is supplier management. Hiring managers ask questions like, Describe a time when a critical supplier failed to meet delivery commitments. This tests problem solving under pressure and relationship management skills. The systematic response starts with the situation, establishing program context and supplier relationship. The task defines what needed to be resolved and by when. The action explains specific steps taken to address the failure, whether finding alternate sources or negotiating expedited delivery. The result quantifies the outcome. Did the program stay on schedule? The second competency is program execution. Questions such as, tell me about a program where you had to recover from a significant cost overrun. Assess financial acumen and recovery planning. Candidates should describe the situation including budget status, identify the task of what recovery target was needed, detail actions taken to reduce costs or secure additional funding, and provide results showing the final cost variance and lessons learned. The final competency is leadership and influence. Hiring managers probe with, give an example of leading a cross-functional team without direct authority. This reveals collaboration and influence skills. Responses should establish the situation explaining the team structure. Define the task or objective requiring alignment. Describe actions demonstrating influence techniques used, and present results showing measurable team outcomes or deliverables achieved. Preparing structured STAR responses for each competency area increases interview effectiveness significantly. Why do some candidates seem perfect on paper but get eliminated after the first interview, while others with similar credentials advance to final rounds? Hiring managers evaluate specific behavioral indicators during interviews, red flags that eliminate candidates and green flags that move them forward. Here's what interviewers are actually watching for. Red flags that eliminate candidates. Vague answers without specific details raise immediate concerns about actual experience depth. When candidates deflect ownership by blaming others for failures, it signals accountability issues. Responses lacking metrics or measurable outcomes suggest an inability to demonstrate impact. Poor regulatory knowledge, stumbling on basic FAR or DFAR questions, indicates gaps in foundational expertise. Weak supplier management examples that don't show relationship building or problem-solving skills are concerning. Speaking negatively about previous employers or colleagues creates immediate red flags about professionalism. Finally, unclear or problematic clearance status creates hiring barriers for classified programs. Green flags that advance candidates. Strong candidates provide detailed examples of navigating supply chain challenges, describing specific disruptions and their resolution approach. They articulate how they interface across supply chain tiers, demonstrating collaboration skills. References to continuous improvement initiatives show proactive problem-solving mindsets, unprompted discussion of key performance indicators, and how they tracked metrics signals analytical capability. Candidates who remain calm and focused throughout the interview, even during difficult questions, demonstrate composure under pressure. Preparation matters. Candidates who practice their interview responses several times and record themselves to evaluate delivery tend to perform significantly better. This preparation shows in their confidence and clarity. Why do equally qualified candidates sometimes receive vastly different compensation offers for similar roles? Understanding how hiring managers evaluate roles and establish salary ranges helps candidates navigate negotiations more effectively and set realistic expectations. Here's how the labor market is typically structured for acquisition supply chain positions. Salary guidelines by level. Compensation structures generally follow predictable tiers. Supply chain specialists typically represent entry to mid-level positions requiring 3 to 5 years of experience. Senior specialists demonstrate deeper technical expertise with 5 to 8 years in specialized areas. Supply chain managers carry supervisory responsibilities and program oversight. Senior managers lead multiple programs or larger teams with strategic impact. Director level positions involve organizational leadership, budget authority exceeding $50 million, and executive stakeholder management. Each tier reflects increasing responsibility, complexity, and compensation ranges that vary by geographic location and clearance requirements. Holistic evaluation framework. Hiring managers don't make compensation decisions based solely on years of experience or job titles. Success in acquisition roles requires holistic evaluation across multiple dimensions. Technical expertise, including regulatory knowledge and systems proficiency, forms the foundation. Leadership capabilities demonstrate whether candidates can manage teams and influence across organizations. Cultural fit assesses alignment with company values and work style. The STAR method provides the most effective framework for evaluating these dimensions simultaneously, allowing hiring managers to verify not just what candidates claim to know, but what they've actually accomplished. Understanding this evaluation framework helps candidates benchmark their qualifications and prepare for salary discussions. After examining clearances, competencies, interview methods, and market dynamics, one question remains. What truly determines success in defense acquisition hiring? The answer lies in understanding how hiring managers evaluate candidates across 5 interconnected pillars, not in isolation, but as a comprehensive whole. Here's how these critical evaluation points work together. Technical expertise. This foundation includes security clearances, FAR and DFARS knowledge, and systems proficiency. Without this baseline, candidates cannot execute the fundamental requirements of defense acquisition roles. Operational excellence. Hiring managers assess proven ability to manage supplier relationships, mitigate risks, and execute programs on time and budget. This demonstrates whether candidates can translate technical knowledge into operational results. Leadership capabilities. The evaluation extends to cross-functional collaboration, stakeholder management, and the ability to influence without direct authority. Defense programs require leaders who can navigate complex organizational structures. Behavioral patterns. Through STAR method interviews, hiring managers examine actual past performance rather than hypothetical scenarios. These patterns reveal how candidates respond under pressure, handle failures, and drive continuous improvement. Cultural fit. Finally, hiring managers evaluate whether candidates' work styles, communication approaches, and professional values align with organizational culture. Technical excellence means little if collaboration styles clash. Successful candidates demonstrate strength across all 5 pillars. The demanding defense market requires professionals who can integrate regulatory compliance with operational execution, technical knowledge with leadership influence, and individual expertise with team collaboration. This comprehensive approach explains why some candidates advance, while others, despite strong credentials, do not. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with some real talk about landing that defense supply chain role. This isn't just another job search. You're pursuing a career that directly impacts our national security mission. The stakes are high, and so are the standards. If you're serious about breaking into this field, I strongly encourage you to revisit this material multiple times. Each review will reveal nuances you might have missed, whether it's understanding the depth of FAR/DFARS requirements, mastering the STAR method for behavioral questions, or truly grasping how technical expertise intersects with leadership capabilities. This isn't information you absorb once. It's a playbook you need to internalize. Here's something that often gets overlooked, but can make or break your interview. Build genuine connections with your interview team. Yes, they're evaluating your technical knowledge and operational excellence, but they're also assessing cultural fit. Smile authentically. Show your enthusiasm for the mission. These aren't just hiring managers. They're potential colleagues who need to trust you with classified programs and critical supplier relationships. When you demonstrate both competence and genuine engagement, you become memorable. Remember, successful candidates demonstrate strength across all 5 pillars: technical expertise, operational excellence, leadership capabilities, behavioral patterns, and cultural alignment. You can't fake this comprehensive readiness. It requires genuine preparation and self-reflection. The defense contracting world needs supply chain professionals who combine technical mastery with unwavering integrity. If that's you, this framework is your roadmap. Study it, practice it, live it. Your contribution to our defense industrial base matters. Good luck, and thank you for your commitment to excellence in serving our nation's security needs.